Point. This is Matthew. On pod.
So Jen, you may want to do your intro again because now they can see you.
Now they can actually
do
see
it again.
Lovely. Welcome back to Twin Galaxies Live. We are hanging out with a couple of amazing guests tonight. If you enjoyed the Star Wars prequels, then you're going to want to stick around for the next 2 hours. Or if here, I'll say this. If you enjoyed Star Wars, you should stick around. We won't tell you which of the Star Wars we'll be talking about. This is Mr. Robert Ronan, a dear friend, also the filmmaker behind the Star Wars Prequel Apologist series, which you can catch on Vimeo or YouTube. Or we're going to be screening the episodes tonight as well for you, so you can take a look and weigh in. And to his left is, I had to remind myself, is Mr. Man. What are you going by in the series? Because I know you something different.
Mr. B.
Mr. B.
But you can just call me Charles.
Mr. B or Charles.
Or Patrick.
Who is also the mastermind, the creator behind the
Lollygag
property. She's so lovely. Can I touch her?
You may touch her.
Oh.
Yes, this is my vinyl doll.
The Holy Grail.
That's right.
That's his vinyl doll.
At Comic-Con.
Wow. She smells good.
Yeah.
She smells better than I do, and I'm feeling very self-conscious all of a sudden. Can I rub her under my armpits?
No.
No. Anywho, we are here to screen his videos. We're here to play some Star Wars Episode 1 Pod Racer on N64.
Nice.
And we're here to discuss Star Wars prequels or the new upcoming sequels, right?
Right,
yeah.
You'd be willing to talk Star Wars everything.
Definitely.
Well, I'm going to take my seat there. You have a view of the chat right there.
Okay.
And we'll get started.
Awesome.
Matt, would you like to come in and show us this amazing game as the cool background to the entire experience?
Cool.
This game's amazing.
I think
Do you mean that non-ironically?
That's the first time that's ever been said.
Hey, I will say this is the best thing to come out of the prequels.
Oh my god.
I think I played it back in the day, but I didn't have a Nintendo.
Well, tell us,
There was an arcade version of this?
There was.
was there?
Okay. I think it had like the motion thing, right? Where you would...
No, the arcade had the dual thrusters.
Okay.
Duh.
Okay.
That's the dual thrusters.
I admit that.
As opposed to the motion.
The motion.
I admit the pod race is not my favorite sequence in the movie.
Wow, it's completely off the screen. That's quality gameplay right there.
It's amazing.
It'll fix itself. Guru, already, just right into it.
Midichlorians
are the best thing that came out of the new movies.
If only there was a movie about midichlorians
Right.
that we put together.
Jar Jar was the best thing.
Jar Jar was the best thing. Hey, Clegger! Clegger works
I'm
for
sensing
Sony.
some irony there.
Yeah.
Well, I think the general sense is they want to know what. Do you really?
Robert,
do you really enjoy?
Can I say something first off?
Yes, please do.
Let me begin
Chuck.
this story. Robert Ronan and I have known each other for, I would say, what?
8 years.
8 years now.
Yeah.
it's over. No. And I remember, if people have seen these shorts yet, and they will see them tonight, we have had this conversation. We have lived the short in our lives. And
It's a heightened reality.
It is a heightened reality where I play the part of Robert Ronan. A lot of acting was needed because I tend to be on the other side of the fence, also the right side of the fence, about the Star Wars prequels. But I appreciate Robert Ronan's angle. It's
vision,
angle, whatever you want to call it. So back to what was the inspiration for?
Well, I think that's it. Yeah.
He lost the way. That's why he made the shorts, to prove me wrong.
Delusions.
Delusion?
Yeah, delusions. Look, no one's saying that they're perfect films, but
yeah, they're definitely not saying that.
and you know, just to get it out there, I prefer the originals, but I think there's a lot of value and good parts in them. You know, everyone, I think, universally, people like the original trailer. So if you cut it up into 2 minutes, it's good. And
I mean,
so somewhere between 2 minutes and whatever the first one is, like 6.5 hours.
Yeah.
And let's be honest.
I don't know if your case is very compelling.
But that initial trailer for Phantom Menace was amazing. Like, it was like the greatest thing ever. I mean, I remember seeing it and like wanting to cry. It was like so perfect.
Yeah, I downloaded the QuickTime and like would watch it like 3 times.
So would I. It was just amazing. And then, you know, the movie actually came out.
This is just felt like 6.5 hours.
Well, I think 6.5 hours is only the scene where they all sit around the dinner table and drink blue milk and talk about how no one does anything good in the universe anymore.
Yeah.
Hey, I love the part about international trade law.
You know, if you're an international trade law scholar,
it's amazing, isn't it? It's very moving.
Yeah.
It's supposed to inspire you.
But you know, I have taken and I don't want to reiterate the whole movie, but I mean the whole Star Wars Prequel Apologist, but you know, there's ideas in there that are good. If you could take that and give it better dialogue and remove Jar Jar. I'm not going to defend Jar Jar.
No, he's out on his own, that guy.
Yeah.
Leave him flat on his ass.
Yeah. Well, I think it may have even been this game. There was a
That's really cool.
I think it wasn't this game. It was it was another one of the Star Wars games from this era where there was a Easter egg where you could have the Nintendo logo crush Jar Jar. I remember that.
I have a question for you. It's very
Yes.
important. Your white girl wants to know why, when a girl gets a vibrator, it's seen as a bit of naughty fun. But when a
Yes.
guy orders a 240-volt Bangmaster Pro 5000 blow-up latex doll with 6 speeds pulsating vagina, elasticized anus with non-drip semen collection tray together with the
That's
optional
key.
built-in realistic orgasm scream surround sound system, he's called a pervert.
You know, that seems really unfair. I would say almost as fair as categorizing the whole prequel trilogy as not worth watching.
Bringing it back. That was nicely done. Nicely done.
But really, I have no answer to that. I've thought of a lot of things, but it's not. I mean, I wouldn't categorize any of those parties as a pervert. I'd say, you know, go with God.
Welcome to the internet.
Or directly against him, whichever works.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah.
Guru suggesting remove Jar Jar, not leave him in, just shoot him about 2 minutes after the intro.
Yeah.
Yeah? All right.
No, I'm not. Look, I studied film, so like it's like I also kind of understand intellectually what George Lucas was trying to do. Like, you know, you watch him in those old videos where he was like watching all these Buster Keaton movies, which are brilliant.
Yes.
I mean, they're awesome movies. Buster Keaton and, you know, some of the, you know, Harold Lloyd? No, what's his name? And Chaplin, everyone knows. Those are like awesome movies. So his idea, like, oh, maybe we can bring some of that humor into the prequels, was a really interesting idea. It's just in implementation, it was terrible. And, you know, I think, you know, I know like with the Phantom edit and stuff, just changing his voice makes the character so much more palatable.
Yeah. Interesting. So you've obviously spent a lot of time delving into some of the motivations of George Lucas in the prequels and analyzing whether or not their executions were successful or not. Would you say, by and large, if you were to break it down into a percentage, what percent?
Oh my God.
What percentage?
I think you need a Scantron for this.
Of his execution do you think went right? His intended execution.
How many minutes did you like?
How many? There we go.
I enjoy the movies like a lot. Like, you know, I've seen them many times.
Cool.
I mean, we just watched them when they came out in 3D. We just watched them, and like they're really enjoyable to watch. I mean, and I'm not the first person to say this. Red Letter, and a lot of people have said a lot of this stuff, but you know, the problem is when you compare them to the original trilogy, because the original trilogy, and I think we'll see how it goes, but you know, J.J. Abrams is cognizant of this. The original trilogy were space westerns, and they were based on, you know, the Kurosawa movies like Hidden Fortress, which are like, again, badass, awesome movies that like everyone can relate to. And I think George.
Oh, Robert Ronan.
If you haven't,
drop a couple more references to impress our audience.
If you haven't seen the Hidden Fortress, go watch it.
Do it right
tell
now.
Me it's
Stop.
Not a badass
Stop playing video
movie.
games. Go watch it. Okay. Get a life.
But no, it's great. But they're very accessible. Now, I think really the model for the prequels is more like a biblical epic, or those kind of movies that you know Hollywood was doing in the '60s, much slower, much less you know, visceral in a certain sense. Other than parts of them, I mean, the action sequences, I think, in all of them are still as good as the prequels. You do some less CGI.
Interesting.
But I mean, the original trilogy.
Gotcha.
You know, he was just in a different place in his life. And I think it's like one of those things, like George Lucas, I don't think could have made those prequels again. I mean, in some ways it's nice that he's handed it off to someone else, because I think his interests have evolved. Like, you know, another thing, and if you took George Lucas out of the equation, there would be something else. And we're going to get that. So,
Indeed.
So it's fine.
And Nirvash Sinclair, in that vein, is asking, what would happen if the new Star Wars sucked?
I don't know. I mean, it's a good question.
Maybe what would happen to you personally?
He would make another video.
He
It would
would,
be
he would
fine.
make
It'd
the
be
Star
fine.
Wars sequels apologist.
Prequel.
Yeah,
Sequel. Apologist.
Prequel.
No, I mean, I don't. If they're not good, I wouldn't like them. And I would say,
Robert, that would crush you.
no, it wouldn't, because it's like, I think we talked about this before with Batman, and I think we did, but you know, Warner Brothers was so cautious for so long. They're getting back into it, and now they're going full on, but. They were so cautious with those properties because they didn't want to ruin them, and that's good. And you should be; those are great properties, and you should be careful with them. But at the same time, if you don't do anything with them, they kind of linger. And so I'd like you know, Disney is definitely going forward with making a lot of these movies. So if you don't like one, maybe you'll like the next one. They're not precious anymore. I mean, the original three are so awesome that I understand you want to be cautious and not. Ruin them. But
Now, we're going to have to pause for just a few seconds here as we remind you what station you're watching.
Twin Galaxies.
Twin Galaxies Love, and we're back. if I timed that correctly, 7 seconds.
Did you do it?
We've got
yeah, you're right.
close. We're creeping up on 400 live viewers right now, watching you chatting Star
It's
Wars.
amazing.
Nice.
You guys at home, absolutely chime in. He's saying some controversial stuff here.
Hey,
Just to frame it up, this man. Sorry, I don't mean to. We haven't seen each other
it's
in
good
I know, but
television.
Robert, I give you credit, man.
Make me the villain.
I give you credit. I give you a lot.
No, he's fighting a brave fight.
He is.
He thinks the Star Wars prequels are not as bad as you think they are.
Everyone's entitled to their opinion. But jumping back to like the Warner Brothers property, they made some crappy movies like I love Warner Brothers, but Catwoman was terrible.
Abysmal.
I
Absolutely.
am not a fan of the Schumacher movies, either one. I loved the Burton
How dare
ones.
you, sir? We
Sorry.
should do. Would you direct us doing a Batman Schumacher film apologist series?
I think that's the next logical step. But regardless, you know, they brought it back with the Nolan ones, and you know, the property came back. Not only that, but like, you know, they were much more experimental on television, where they did some of their best work ever. I mean, I know you're a big fan of the animated series. And
I saw Julie Newmar again, by the way.
She's stalking you officially.
I did. She was sitting behind me on The Big Bang Theory. I saw a live taping. I'm like, here she is again. And the whole time she was like this, covering her ears, because you know they have like the audience wrangler, and he's like, yeah, and she's like, the whole time. It was hilarious. Sorry, that was Don't forget, you have that autograph still, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my God.
So this is
It's
a long
fine.
way of apologizing for J.J. Abrams' movie before it even comes out. If it's bad, I won't
But
like
a
it.
bigger thing, guys. We had this time in the 70s and early 80s of Star Wars.
Yeah.
Then we had a huge break, and then we
Yeah.
had 3 more movies, right?
Mm-hmm.
But now it's like a Star Wars movie every effing year.
Yeah, that's the plan.
That's a bigger issue for me. Like,
Yeah.
suddenly it's going to be everywhere. And one thing about Star Wars is that it wasn't quite like Star Trek. Like
Yeah.
you just it was a thing that happened, and it was glorious, and we all remembered it and loved it, and we lived with it. But now it's going to be something that is constantly evolving and
Yeah.
growing, and we could get a crap director or a crap writer,
Yeah.
and they could really make it even worse.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like, people think of, like the awesome, like my favorite comic in like the 80s was like X-Men. And like they just had some awesome, badass storylines that they're definitely mining now.
Right.
But, I can't remember any right now, but that's
Yeah.
kind of the point. I'm sure they had bad storylines, but you just filter those out. And
That's the beauty of a franchise as massive as this.
yeah,
You're the quality control on it. You're gonna get all kinds of stuff, and you
Yeah.
gotta enjoy. I mean, it's good. It's better to have
yeah.
more than.
But there's
than
going to be
less.
I'm going to have to adapt to it.
Yeah.
I mean, every year, like to have like a main storyline and or a side solo project. I mean, it's just going to be really interesting.
it'll be interesting.
Now, not to jump the shark, but how do you feel about JJ doing episode 7? Fear of lens flare?
I like lens
I
flare.
like lens flare too.
Yeah.
It's very retro.
Hi, Silverlone.
You just got to use it appropriately. My thoughts on JJ is that I think he's an extremely talented director who is really good with actors. I mean, you watch even I want to say Cloverfield, but
Alias?
No, the monster one he did. What was it called? Oh,
Super 8.
Super 8.
Super 8, yeah.
Like you watch that, and they're just some badass scenes in terms of like his directing, especially those young actors. Like just really great. I think where a lot of people haven't liked JJ's movies is been in the writing, and he, that's a valid critique because he generally hires the writers or controls them, at least in his more recent movies. But as a pure director, I think he's great, and I think he can totally pull it off. So it'll be interesting to see how much influence Kathleen Kennedy has and Lawrence Kasdan, who of course is a tremendous writer.
And who we're watching right now.
Yeah, I'm sure. Hi, Kathy.
Hi.
And
Hi.
Lawrence. And whether they can bring something to him, because no one remembers Aaron Kershner, who did Empire Strikes Back, or Richard Marquis. That's how you say it, I think. Who did Empire Return of the Jedi. They did fantastic work in those movies, and they did fantastic work outside of those movies. But, I think in some cases what you needed is a director who's good with actors. And I'll be the first to admit that George Lucas is not good with actors.
No, he's awful. Notoriously awful, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think
he's
the
not going to kill me for being the first person to say it. Everyone generally regards him as terrible for. What is the thing that he says?
Well, I don't know.
directing?
It's an old story that.
Faster.
Yeah, that's exactly.
What is
yeah.
it? Was it? What is it? Oh, Fast and More.
That's the only direction he gave, which is not helpful to an actor.
Oh, faster and more intense. Exactly.
So,
Oh, go ahead.
so yeah, I mean, I think that's certainly an area that you could have improved the prequels. They're not perfect. I'm certainly not saying that.
There's a lot of love for Darth Maul. For people,
Yeah.
people got on board with you a little bit here. They were trying to point out some things that they enjoyed. Like someone said, Darth Maul was a great thing to come out of the
Yeah.
series. The dual lightsaber
That was a
a
great
good
thing,
thing
yeah.
to come out of the
The
series.
first 10 minutes, like you have the first prequel, is great. It's got like a lot of atmosphere, a lot of practical effects. The only downsides are the bad pneumonian characters.
Yeah.
But there's still like some really great sequences in there. And Lucas, I think, was always, like I said, I think he still has his fastball in terms of directing action and visual storytelling, in terms of the overall design. While it's Ralph McQuarrie wasn't involved and he's the best, but the people they had were good. The effects were good. The music was awesome. I mean,
Yeah,
John
of course.
Williams, I think,
He's
brings
not
it.
lost his edge.
Yeah, I see him
not
now.
lost his edge. Yeah.
Not at all.
We are creeping up on about 500 live
Okay.
viewers here. Hi, guys.
was-
We're chatting everything Star Wars with Robert Ronan. And should I just call you?
Charles O'Connor, that's fine.
Okay, I can call you by your real name.
Yeah.
Because people are going to make the connection when they see the credits of the video.
Oh,
and
it's
you,
fine.
You went through the trouble of doing a pseudonym.
It's like who has like a famous like name that isn't really their name. I was gonna say Madonna, but that's really her name. So
So we're hanging out with Robert Ronan and Charles O'Connor. Charles is a star of Robert's web series. I can call it a web series, right? There's going to be more. Star Wars Prequel Apologist, which we're going to start screening here in just a few moments. And we're talking everything Star Wars, not just the prequels that Robert apologizes for. No, but it enjoys, but the sequels as well. A question here from Cheetah. Do you happen to know if they know who's playing Leia's daughter yet? Is it going to be Carrie Fisher's daughter in real life?
I don't know. I mean, I just read something
She an actress?
yesterday that her daughter, the speculation, which seems, I don't know if it's true, is that she was going to actually play Leia in like a flashback or like some kind of sequence where you're seeing the past.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think Daisy Ridley is playing the daughter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That would be really interesting.
I mean, that would be a big, because, you know,
Does she look like her?
She
does.
looks more like Padme.
Oh.
yeah. Well, I mean, I think, because, you know, we heard her, Mark Hamill talk like 2 years ago, at the Egyptian.
Hero Complex.
It wasn't like we were talking to him.
Return of the Jedi. Screening.
And you know, he said that this is he said publicly, so I can share it. He said
It's also the internet, so you can share.
yeah, exactly. You know, he said when they asked Carrie if she would be in the movie, that she asked, well, is there a part for my daughter? And apparently there was. But I remember like thinking like, you know, that's nepotism, whatever.
Yeah.
But then like you Google her daughter, and her daughter's really attractive.
There, she's on my screen.
She
Oh
looks.
yeah, does she? Oh wow.
Yeah.
She looks more like Padme.
That's really interesting. She does.
Nice.
Just like
Oh,
that.
oh my God!
All
she's
right, all right.
beautiful.
You heard it here first.
Holy crap!
So that's really cool. She's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She really is. Wow.
Yeah.
So.
Thank you, Guru, for.
So I
putting
mean, I don't know if she's a talented actress, but.
I mean, when you look like that, does it matter? You know what I'm saying?
Well, I remember because there was kind of like a backlash, and people were like, "Oh, she's just trying to get her daughter," but then people, I think, you know,
And then they saw and they
aesthetics-
were like, hubba hubba.
yeah, exactly.
And they forgot what they previously
Yeah.
said. Boozero says flashbacks in Star Wars, and then does a little angry face. Why is Star Wars not? But the whole thing is a flashback.
Well, no, that's just-
Technically,
Right.
it's
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Is like Lucas actually has a very specific like mise en scène, like aesthetics for
You just
know,
lost
not-
everybody.
not mise en
You
scène,
know,
aesthetics.
Including the
Aesthetic.
people here.
And like, you know, it's all in real time. There's no slow motion. Although I think there's 1 or 2 shots that are slow motion. There's no flashbacks. It's a very, he's not lying when he says his inspiration for these movies is serials from 30s, 40s, really. So I mean, and you know, he's justified some of the stilted dialogue as that's what I like. I got it. I think he
That
could
is a
probably.
director's prerogative.
I
Yeah.
think some of that might be, self-justification, but that is an aesthetic he likes, and like, as someone who has gone back and watched a lot of those movies, like they're really badass, and like I love them, and like you get into them and you watch a bunch of them, and you can get into that mind space where like that's good or that's enjoyable. Whereas, like, it is at odds with, I think, modern movies. And if you go back to the first Star Wars, there's some of that stiltedness. It almost totally evaporates in the second, in Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, where they become much more naturalistic in their delivery and stuff like that. And I mean, all of movies were moving that direction throughout the 70s.
Right.
Yeah, no, 70s.
So, you go back to movies from the late 60s, there's a lot of, acting,
Yeah.
kind of from a non-naturalistic sense.
Yeah.
So going back to that,
Don't reply.
I think ultimately, especially when you hear stories about Natalie Portman breaking down on the set and actors not getting their pages, so they really had no idea what they were reacting to, I think that might be some justification there, some self-justification. But I think a lot of these things.
What's your favorite
I
one,
do
Robert?
enjoy, even though they're not necessarily good.
Robert,
in
what's your
the
favorite?
traditional-
What's your favorite one?
favorites of the all 6?
Yeah.
Star Wars.
The original?
Yeah,
The
my-
I
Nope.
agree. I concur.
Yeah.
Narash wants to know what makes you guys like Star Wars. For me, it was the
I
characters.
agree. I
Han
think it is the
Solo.
characters. I think it is the characters.
And Han Solo, I mean, it's great he's back in the new one, because that's definitely the character that was missing from the prequels. It was like there was like a lot of the stuffy people. I mean, you go back to Return of the Jedi. There is a scene. I mean, I'm sorry, Star Wars. There is a scene where everyone's sitting around the room talking about the fate of the Empire. I think it's better done than in some of the prequels, but it does have that stiffness. But what it counteracts it with is Han Solo, who's
Right.
kind of like this loose cannon, non-Jedi, non-conformist.
Right.
Whereas, because Lucas was very tied into the countercultural movement in the 60s and 70s. Whereas and that's a story about rebellion, where the new ones are about the institution, and that's just inherently less interesting as a storyline. I mean, ultimately, that the institution is going to be destroyed.
Right.
So that's an interesting storyline, but watching a little boy, slave boy, grow up on a planet that seems to be insignificant at the time is admittedly not the most exciting thing to watch.
Right.
Versus rescuing a princess and getting chased by TIE fighters and blowing up a Death Star.
Right.
I mean, that's good stuff.
It is good stuff. And but where he starts that's the beauty of it. It's the transformation.
Yeah.
In case you guys were wondering, we're playing the N64 pod racer game. I think it's called Star Wars Episode 1 Racer. When Matt gets back, I'm going to ask him if he won, because I can't interpret these crazy hieroglyphs that are on here. What are those? Numbers?
Yeah, I think it's a time.
Numbers? Oh, okay.
So is it 1 minute 43 or?
Put that on my PC.
Well, Kyle says that he can do a great Jango Fett voice. Let's hear it,
Let's
Kyle.
hear it.
Oh,
you gotta bring it if you're gonna say it.
I'll try. Hold on.
Okay.
I'm Jango Fett, and I'm a bounty hunter.
Kyle, that's just your voice.
I'll keep on.
Kyle's a regular. He's here every day, and we appreciate him. And he's working on.
But
some
most
voice.
times, Jen, though.
Yeah.
Not all the time.
Most of the time. What do you got? Hot dates or something? You're trying to ditch us? Why go on a hot date when you could be hanging out with Charles O'Connor and Robert Ronan over the internet?
Talking about something like Star Wars,
Talking about the Star Wars
which has never been talked
prequels.
about before ever until now.
Well, I have all the Star Wars PC.
Should we show one? Can we show one?
We can, absolutely. I gotta wait for Adam Ray to get back in this room.
Okay.
What? Oh, you can play it from over there. Okay. Let's show one. What do you say?
Sure.
All right, if you want to give it an intro, he'll take your cue and hit the play button.
So the first one, Star Wars Prequel Apologist.
Sure, let's do them in order.
Okay.
Yeah.
That
There's
makes
only
sense.
two. Can I get a drink? Is that all right?
Well, do you have the C-3PO?
No,
one?
no, I
Oh,
have to,
Robert's trying to highlight
I
himself
have to remind
now.
him. I'll remind him to get it while
Okay.
we're playing it. But yeah.
So yeah, I mean the premise is kind of what we've been talking about. Again, it's a heightened reality, so it's a lot of conversations I've actually had in a setting that is.
He's talking about me and him.
Yeah.
We have literally had this conversation.
Well, with a lot of people, but especially Charles, about how people react in this, and when you kind of bring some of this stuff up, and
All right.
I guess that's it.
All right.
That was longer than the
Roll it.
movie.
Yeah.
Hey, there's something I've been meaning to tell you.
Sure, what's up?
It's kind of a big deal.
What is it?
I want you to know something about me.
Okay, you can tell me anything.
I have a condition. I'm what I suppose is technically called a Star Wars Prequel Apologist.
You mean you actually like to watch Jar Jar Binks?
No, it's nothing like that. I think he's terrible.
Yeah, I'm not really understanding then.
Look, I know the prequels aren't perfect.
Hold me, like you did by the lake on Naboo?
Exactly, the romance is terrible. It's like two robots exchanging the source code for Microsoft Excel. But, I mean, the story, the ideas, the action, they are all really good.
I guess I do still find myself thinking about those movies.
I know, it sticks with you, right? Like how Anakin's love for Padme is used to turn him to the dark side.
Or how the Republic collapsed because people were willing to give up freedom for safety.
Yes, exactly, that's it. I'm not into that Jar Jar stuff.
Okay, well, I think I could live with that.
You have no idea what it was like to keep that inside.
You really can't tell me anything. I love you.
And also, I think the Matrix sequels are underrated. But if you think about the symbolism,
And we're back. Mexicoke, the official drink of Star Wars Prequel Apologists
Yes.
everywhere. Snapple, the official drink of Scruffy Nerfers.
So yeah, that was the first one. Where again, I've never I've never had relationship stress based on my liking of the Star Wars prequels or not. So that's kind of the heightened part. I think all of them are kind of set in a world where people are just a little more into Star Wars than is what's healthy. Probably it exists in some corners, especially of the internet. But the idea being, I've actually had a lot of those conversations with people. I actually don't like the Matrix sequels.
Oh yeah, I don't either.
But so that was kind of the step too far there at the end, the last line. But most of the other stuff is more or less representative of a lot of my views on the prequels.
Huh. So these videos are your outlet. Do you believe that your videos will sway people to your side?
No.
Well, what's interesting? But what's interesting is that him posting it on YouTube, you get a lot of supporters who say, "I agree with your point of view." So
Oh, wow.
he's actually championing
Championing their cause.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I mean, you know me. I love a discussion. So for me, it's just like about having something to talk about. And if you love it or hate it, as long as you're like into it, that's the point.
Well, Guru here is wondering, so JJ is doing episode 7. Rian Johnson is going to be doing episode 8. He's known for Looper. Feelings on him, if any?
I think it's great. I love Looper.
I concur.
I didn't see Brick. I may have seen part of it, but I haven't seen it all the way through, so I can't really judge. But I thought Looper was fantastic, so I'm really excited about it. He's definitely got a vision, so even if he takes the wrong step, I think it'll be a strong point of view, and I think that's what's needed, is a strong point of view. So I'm looking forward to it. You haven't seen Looper, have you?
I haven't seen Looper, but in terms of like the type of director he is, I think that's perfect. Like get someone, and this is kind of fits the Marvel model, which they seem to be following. Get someone who's young and talented, but isn't really established, so they'll still kind of fit within. I don't like this term, but within the brand of Star Wars.
And he's also going to be writing I heard the last one as well.
Oh,
so,
Yeah, he's supposed to be doing 8 and 9.
yeah, so it's going to be pretty exciting.
I mean, I think that's what you want. Is you want people who can bring something to it, because you don't just want a George Lucas clone. I mean, if anything, I wouldn't say JJ is a George Lucas clone. But he obviously is very fond of Spielberg, and a lot of what he does is inspired by Spielberg.
What JJ does, and we know this, is that he takes something that's been done before and he kind of does it again. One of the criticisms we've heard is that he doesn't really have a strong vision, but he's able to emulate other people's visions. And I think that's what people really want, is they want the Star Wars from the 70s and the 80s. So he's going to honor that, and you can see by the the leaks online that he is honoring that. And even if it's not the most quote unquote original viewpoint of Star Wars, I don't care. I just want to go back there and experience it again. So it's cool.
I just want to point out that Matt Hiscox, who's back there playing Star Wars Episode 1 Pod Racer, or just Racer, it's called, is mouthing along with the voiceover for this game. So
So Boba can suck it. I've got first place every race of this tournament. I haven't even played this in middle school. Yeah.
Nice. I've played a lot of Star Wars games, but I haven't played this one.
That's a lead-in.
Yeah.
I don't know, Robert Ronan.
yeah. Now, have you played? Do you ever play fighting games ever?
I don't. I used to play like back in the day, like Karateka, like way back in the day. But I used to play like Street Fighter and those kind of games. Like
But no Masters of the Terrakasai?
I haven't. No.
I
There's
could go
a-
Star Wars video
Terrakasi.
games all night long.
Terrakasi.
But I mean, I definitely recognize Kyle Katarn from
Oh yeah.
Dark Forces, and then what was the sequel called? Jedi Knight and Jedi Knight 2.
Yeah.
I played all those.
Nice. Now there's a fighting game called Soul Calibur, and Soul Calibur 4 guest starred Star Wars characters, which was ridiculous.
remember that, yeah.
Yeah?
I think we talked about this a long time
We
ago.
did, yeah.
I
It
think
was.
you might have even played it. Like,
Did I?
Yeah.
I remember you. Yeah, I think I remember you like.
Oh, I bought it and I played it for you guys.
Maybe,
This
or maybe
is
I'm
right.
just misremembering.
It came out like in what 2009.
It was right after I was let go from Disney.
It was 09, 10. Yeah. So I
It
remember.
was what dulled the pain. Was
I think you
was
showed it to
Soul
me. And I
Calibur
was
4.
like, what the.
Yeah,
Like,
you-
I was so angry. I was like, how dare they? I was so angry.
And it was retarded because, a key function of fighting games is the grab or the throw, right? It's usually like it does a lot of damage in most fighting games. And Yoda, they purposely made it so that he was too short, so he can never be thrown or grabbed. So it was just silly. It
Because
was
no one
silliness.
could think to bend over.
Yeah, exactly. It's
Or kick him.
them's the
Yeah.
Or
rules.
kick him. Well, Yoda was, badass.
Well, just a quick reminder, guys. You should be following Robert Ronan on Twitter. Can I say that?
Sure. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
At Robert Ronan. and it has insights about Star Wars on there, and your random thoughts about Star Wars and coffee. I visited it today.
Forgot about the zero
This is
gravity.
really neat.
Yeah. And you should also follow Lollygag on Twitter.
Yes, lollygag.
At Lollygag.
It's actually _lollygag_. Don't ask me why. It just happened that way. Just go to Lollygag World on Facebook and you can find everything. Or lollygagworld.com and you can find everything.
I have the worst thing to tell you in the whole world. So brace yourself.
All right.
Okay. So my rabbit, who died last week, had to be put down. I had an appointment for him to be put down in the morning, and I had my outfit picked out, which was gonna be like it was gonna look like him because it was all black and he's like a black rabbit. He ended up having trouble the night before. We had to call someone out to put him down that night so he wouldn't suffer. And the shirt that I was wearing was your Lollygag shirt.
Oh no!
And like as I'm cradling his dead body and like crying, I'm like, "There's a ghost rabbit on this shirt." I just realized. No, but it was good. It was fitting in a way because it was it was symbolic of. It was a good little tribute. But he's not a ghost rabbit. He's a imaginary rabbit. Moot.
I never said he was a rabbit.
Oh.
What? Well, he's got bunny ears. Don't ruin this, Charles O'Connor. Don't.
You know, people.
Yeah, you just stepped on her beautiful story.
Well, the thing is, people who have dogs, they see a dog. People who have bunnies see bunnies.
Oh,
people
interesting.
It's an imaginary friend, so it's whoever you want it to be.
So you're not saying no, you're just saying
I'm just
you
saying.
can't commit.
I'm just saying, in your universe, yes, it's a bunny.
There you go,
Good
guys.
answer.
There you
Good,
go.
Yeah.
good answer. Guru has posted the link
Thank
to
you for that, Guru. I
Lollygag's Twitter.
appreciate it.
So click on that.
Or
Follow
you know,
Lollygag.
follow on Facebook, please, if you
Facebook.
can.
Better JJ than M. Night. Could you imagine? Was M. Night Shyamalan?
No.
I can't even say his name ever up for the Star
I
Wars.
thought it was like one of the rumors,
No.
but I don't think it was ever real.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I actually, I'm gonna really get myself in trouble. I actually think M. Night is really talented.
He was really talented,
But
a huge ego destroyed
Yeah.
that talent.
But it gets old.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I think and these are like his old movies are really well directed, really good performances out of actors, and you have to remember that like that's a lot of what a director does on set. I think the problem is he insisted on.
Thank you. Guru. Appreciate it.
I think you have to remember a lot of these problems with these directors is that like he insists on writing his own material, which is great because a lot of times that's something special they bring to it. I think the same is true of Robert Rodriguez. Like he's a badass director, but he writes his own material. But it's kind of like a catch-22 because if someone else wrote a Robert Rodriguez movie, it wouldn't be a Robert Rodriguez movie.
Right.
He's got like, even though he's not like a perfect writer, like he's great at what he does, but he'll never be conventional in a certain sense. And sometimes that's good because sometimes you can go off the rails. But sometimes it's really fun. Like I love From Dusk Till Dawn, although Tarantino actually wrote that.
Guru, are you talking about A Lady in the Water?
No. What was that one with the trees and plants were killing everybody?
I didn't see that one.
Which one?
That was.
It was with Mark Wahlberg and everything.
Oh, yeah, the something, the happening.
Yeah,
The Happening.
The Happening. That's the one. That was
Happening.
terrible.
The Happening.
It just got too old. But like you go back to like.
But I haven't. Sorry, cut you off.
No, go ahead.
I haven't actually. I kind of wish he would get back to doing a spooky story. I think he still has it in him, and I think.
Yeah.
I think some of his earlier films are actually pretty good.
Yeah.
I just think that he just.
Sorry, continue.
What happened?
Because I just remembered Robert's story about The Sixth Sense.
Yeah.
About what?
I can tell that.
You can tell.
Yeah.
We're on the
Sure.
subject.
So, my screenwriting professor in college knew J.J. Abrams, knew
M.
M.
Night.
Night Shyamalan, because he taught at my school and at Penn, and he and M. Night was going to come talk about a year before Sixth Sense came out. And, he told us he had, at that point, his big credit was that Rosie O'Donnell movie.
Yeah.
Where she's
Madeline?
like a nun.
Is it Madeline?
No, it was like a drama.
No, isn't it? Isn't it Madeline?
I don't think it's Madeline. It was like about a little boy who was
No, I
like
remember
dealing
it.
with. I don't remember. I didn't see it, but. And then he gave us the script to read, which was like, at that point, like a huge sale. And I think he said it was the only script Disney had ever bought that they didn't ask for any rewrites. They just put it in production. And I read it, and I read it on a train. So I might have been distracted, but I didn't like it.
There you go.
I could tell from page like 10 that what was going on, and then it's just really boring to read. And this might be true of all horror. It's just really boring because I'm not scared, and like there's just all this drama stuff, which is effective, but it wasn't like great. So he offered us to all come and meet M. Night. I mean, not like personally, but he was giving a presentation to a small group, and like we all said no.
You said no?
Yeah.
You're like, I don't want to meet the writer of this crap script.
It's like
The
it's like
Sixth Sense, more
But
like
you like the movie, right?
shit
yeah,
sense.
but then a year later, I
like
go
the
to the
direction.
theater and I see it, and that movie just played and killed. The audience loved it.
Yeah.
And one big thing is, first of all, it wasn't as apparent in the movie as it was in the script about what was actually going on, and two, it was scary, and that you just couldn't convey that creepiness that he did on screen. So, but I mean, I think.
But it
in
was
some
also
ways-
moving. That's why it did so well. Because it's actually a moving story.
And I actually think that even because what I saw was very close to the script, even the stuff that I think didn't work on the page worked in terms of the drama and stuff like that. You know, it's actually still a pretty moving story if you go back and watch just the relationship, even knowing the twist.
yeah.
Yeah, no, it works.
It doesn't invalidate the whole story. It actually like makes the story better. And then of course we had a whole generation of movies where the twist just invalidated everything you watched for the previous 90 minutes. I'm like, well, great, that was a cheap twist, and you just wasted the first 90 minutes of my time.
Right.
I mean, I'm talking to you. What was the one about the prep school in Florida with
Porky's?
Nev Campbell? Well, it wasn't far, and Kevin Bacon.
The prep school.
Um,
Wild Thing?
Wild Things.
Wild
yeah,
Things,
It's
yeah.
like the twist at the end. You're like, wait, that's just like the whole
Twist
rest
at
of
the end.
the whole rest of the movie doesn't make sense now. But you know, full frontal male nudity, so that's always
Can't
fun.
hate on
Yeah.
that. Speaking of Matt, do you have an erection?
Speaking of full frontal nudity.
Apparently. I thought I was just playing the game. But, you know, if you guys want to be looking at my junk, I can stand up.
Some of these graphics are really cool.
Carnival Wolf, I'm sorry to tell you that your comment is unsubstantiated. He does not have an erection, but maybe you can try to make him have one. So keep saying things.
Wow.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Tell
Uh,
the internet. Stick around. I don't know.
So, but again, back to the original point. I think M. Night is actually a really talented
He is.
director.
He's watching.
Hey,
Yeah,
M. Night.
that's the twist.
I think he got too enamored with the twist, and I don't really know what happened. I actually thought Lady in the Water was a really entertaining movie. I didn't think it was a good movie.
Curls his face.
I disagree. 1,000%.
I didn't think it was a good movie in the way that
was
his
horrible.
first couple were, but I found it like super entertaining to watch. Like I was totally entertained the whole time watching that movie.
Interesting.
Now you could pick it apart, I'm sure, and
you could.
he was repeating himself again and again, and like
But the whole thing was like the writer is the
Is it-
savior
yeah,
of
exactly.
the world. It's like, who, by the way, is played by him. It's like, come on,
Yeah.
just
Now, one sec, guys. We're going to pause for station identification in case you forgot what station you were watching.
okay. Yeah. Yeah, sure.
And
Is it on?
we're
Is it okay?
back, I'm
Still.
sure. Iggy Azalea, Nicki Minaj beef. I don't get it.
we could talk
Yeah,
about that.
They just
you know?
talked about it. They just mentioned
Yeah.
that today. Iggy Azalea tweeted that that she's all about positive energy, and that she's not going to fall into that marketing and unnewsworthy BS.
Interesting.
And who cares? That's what I say. Who cares?
But the names both sound like Star Wars characters,
Yeah, they do. That's very interesting. Guru
and
says,
she is like a dungeon dragon. So.
yeah. Guru says, I agree, he's very talented, but he gets stuck on the twist. Not every
Yeah.
movie needs a twist. I'm surprised The Last Airbender didn't have a twist. It did suck, however. That was the twist.
Yeah.
By that time, it wasn't a twist. I think we knew it was coming.
I love, what is this, a stream for ants?
I understand the reference. But
What is
I don't
that? What
understand
is
how-
Zoolander. you know,
Zoolander.
What
yeah.
is this?
Zoolander.
A center for ants?
That's funny.
How do we expect children to learn how to read
Well,
if they
if you wanna
can't
make
even
it
fit
at
inside
3
the
times
building?
bigger, you can go to twingalaxieslive.com, click on the little windows and make them bigger, or you can watch it full screen at source settings so you can see it in full 1080p.
That's right.
And it
So
doesn't take you away from the Twitch stream. So.
we've got 630 people watching right now live. You're hanging out with Robert Ronan, who you can follow on Twitter at Robert Ronan to get all your Star Wars thingies and his personal insights into things. And
The musings
Everything.
of Robert Ronan.
Yeah, yeah.
the musings of Robert Ronan. And we're hanging out with Charles O'Connor. You can follow his property, his, you know what?
Brand.
I feel bad for calling Lollygag your property.
It's all right.
But his brand, underscore, it's at underscore lollygag underscore.
Just go to Facebook.
And we're chatting,
Lollygag World.
or Facebook, and we're chatting about Star Wars.
Thank you, girl.
Prequels, sequels, everything. There we go. Thanks,
Or
Guru.
games.
Yeah, this channel is business time for sure. Yeah, it's business time.
Nice.
You guys are wearing business socks.
From, was it the Flight of the Conchords?
It's business time.
I know cultural references.
He does. He watched Star Wars as well.
So I got a dumb question. This came up in conversation the other day, but maybe you guys or somebody in the chat knows. Who's the guy who's got the death sentence in 8 systems? What's that guy's name?
It's Dr.
Yeah,
I want to
right?
say like Dr. Zhivago, but that's not it. Apparently there's a whole novel based on him and how he survives that incident and goes on to shenanigans across the universe and stuff like that. I just think he's Pig-Faced guy who gets his
It's
head
12 systems.
12
Yeah, 12 systems.
12
that's right.
systems.
What was that guy's name? It's Dr. somebody?
I can't pronounce it.
Yeah.
And he's not a doctor. Oh, Dr. Evazon.
Yeah.
Evazon.
Apparently he was like a crazy plastic surgeon, and that's how he got his death sentences for doing crazy plastic surgery experiments. Kind of like Bruce Campbell in Escape from LA, I guess.
Huh. Matt, do you mind moderating, or Charles, mind moderating questions for a sec? I'm going to see if I can make an adjustment to...
Of course.
Yeah.
I can do that because I am so far ahead that it's not even a joke. So you guys have to be pretty excited about this. It seems like you're getting a good following and that a bunch of people are checking stuff out. So
Cool.
Yeah, it's good.
awesome.
It's good. It's very fun to do. We're hopefully doing a third one.
Maybe.
We haven't seen number 2 yet, so that's
Yeah.
coming. But hopefully we'll do another one.
Well,
Yeah, I don't have
all good things in Star Wars comes in trilogies,
That's
right?
what I've been
So you
saying.
guys got to do a third.
Yeah.
We have like a rough outline for a third one. I don't have like something that I want to talk about because like all of them kind of have like a, you know, the narrative. Like the first one is the guy trying to save his relationship with this woman. And then they also have a topic. So the second one definitely has a topic, which is very controversial amongst Star Wars fans. So I don't really have what that would be for the third one.
So you're missing the topic?
Yeah, like what it would be about.
Well, see, this is the great thing. You guys have a ton of viewers here, 653 people watching. Guys, we're chatting the Star Wars prequels with Star Wars Prequel Apologist, Robert Ronan. And he's now saying that if he were to do a trilogy, he doesn't have a topic for the third one. So if you guys want to make suggestions, we won't give you credit for it. And they have no obligation to actually include you in the filming of it. But maybe they'll take your idea and make it their own.
Shamelessly rip it off and then claim it was ours.
Exactly. I mean, you had one idea for it, which we won't talk about because maybe we'll
I
develop
have an
it.
idea for like what the plot would be moving forward. The first one is about a guy at the beginning of a relationship. The second one we'll watch in a second, but you could guess it's kind of midterm relationship. So the third one would be
You find out it's his father who he's been dating. No?
No, that's not it.
This is why I just host a video game show.
yeah.
But it's, you know, it's the end of a relationship. Let's put it that way.
Matt's eyes look weird.
Your eyes look weird.
Says Nirvana.
I have a question. What do you guys feel about Disney abolishing the expanded universe?
That's true. Yes, that's a very good question.
I kind of talked about that like a little earlier. There's a lot of bad stuff in the expanded universe, and as a filmmaker, you just can't deal with it because trying to rectify your new story with all of that stuff, it's just a non-starter. In some ways, the whole thing's a little silly because like comics change continuity all the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Warner Brothers just started over all their comics. I'm
Yep.
sorry, not Warner Brothers, DC.
DC.
So and people adjust, and you can always do a throwback or go back to the old continuity.
Right.
That stuff's still going to exist. Fans
Yeah.
are still going to follow it no matter what. I have to say though, I've always been like a big fan of Star Wars, but only the first 3 movies. So
Yeah.
even like obviously the prequels, but like everything else. I mean, I'll see it, I'll enjoy it, but I don't really follow it. I don't take it seriously. To me, it's always just about the original trilogy. So Disney can abolish whatever they want to abolish. Those books and those video games are all still going to exist.
Yeah,
People are still going to
absolutely.
follow them. So. They just don't want to have to follow those storylines, and that
Yeah.
makes sense. They can do their own thing. As long as they stick to the first 3, I'm okay. If
Yeah.
they say we're getting rid of things that happened in the first 3, then I have a problem.
And I watched the Zahn, I read the Zahn books. I remember when they first came out, which wasn't the first Star Wars fiction, but it was the first thing to really get a big backing. And I remember reading them on vacation when I was like a teenager, and just like sitting by the pool reading those. That was just like the best time of my life.
On vacation.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm doing on vacation what I could be doing at home.
Oh, yeah, exactly. But those were really good.
Under,
those were really good
under the
stories.
covers with a flashlight.
Robert's
and
first
my
girlfriend
pillow
was in
fort.
college, by the way.
Those were really good stories that you could see as movies. But I mean, it's difficult to have that continuity because so much happened in those. Like poor Chewbacca. That going forward with that continuity, but without most people having read those, would be just so difficult. And I want to see Chewbacca. So.
Yeah, guys, Chewbacca dies in the books.
Sorry.
Just so you know.
Yeah.
But
Hey,
it's all right.
Spoiler alert!
Kyle wants to show you that he has an original copy of Star Wars Racer.
Nice.
And as we're
Nice.
creeping up on
Yeah,
800
too.
viewers, I'm going to reintroduce. You guys are hanging out with Robert Ronan, the filmmaker behind the series. It's on YouTube and Vimeo called Star Wars
I'm a Star Wars
Prequel
PC
Apologist. And Charles O'Connor, who owns the brand, and he's the creator and mastermind behind the brand, Lollygag. He's going to show you a little picture of her here. If you hold her up next to your head,
And invite all these funny comments.
Which one
Where
is
am I
Charles? Which one is
I know,
Lollygag?
really.
I have to
And
say
this is
those
unreleased,
lollygag
right?
characters
Or
are
is the yellow?
awesome.
Wait, say it again?
I have to say those lollygag characters are awesome looking. They really are.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Aw,
Thank you.
sweet.
And this is
They're very
Lollygag.
cute.
Thank you. This is Lollygag as Marie Antoinette. So we have different versions of Lollygag. We're working on a new doll right now. I'll give you a little heads up. A Hula Girl Lollygag.
Ooh.
So that'll be the next doll that's coming out next year. But right now we're touring with the Marie Antoinette version, and we've put out the pink one, which I've mentioned before, can be seen on The Big Bang Theory. If you guys watch The Big Bang Theory, she's actually on Penny's shelf in her apartment. So every time the door opens up and she walks past, you can see Lollygag clearly, this doll, but it's pink, on the shelf. That was released first, and we did a big art show. Because I was here last promoting the art show that was coming up, and we had a huge turnout.
I heard it was
at
amazing.
Toy Art Gallery. We had all these really famous artists do their own custom versions of this doll, and it was really awesome. If you go to facebook.com Lollygag World, you can see some of the pictures from the show. And there was a really cool video that was made as well of the show. And right now there's a teal version out that's also you can buy in the stores, and this one will be available at Comic-Con, exclusive at Comic-Con, or at conventions, I should say. So if you want to pick up a really, really rare one and you're at Comic-Con, stop by my booth and take a look at it.
Yay!
Cool.
Yeah, I'll be there. Save one for me.
Will you be there?
I will purchase one.
Oh, that's awesome. Great.
I will make you sign it.
Well, you can sign it too. You're a celebrity.
Well, I had nothing to do with Lollygag, though. I wish I did. She's so cute. I'm a true Star Wars PC gamer, says Kyle. Lollygag, always think of the gunny. I don't know what that means.
Wait, where are we?
Lollygag, always think of the gunny.
I always think of the bunny.
The
I
gunny?
mean-
Bunny? Gunny?
The gunny? Oh, Dunnies. You mean Dunnies? Is that what you're thinking of, like Dunnies? Like a sculptured figure?
It's all right.
I don't. You
Yeah.
can't-
Yeah.
can't reply
Feels
back.
like charades.
The show is like a Dunny show, but it was Lollygag.
You know, like going back to I see Kyle turned I can't say it, 1995. Like going back, like the Star Wars video games and like that era were so good. Like I remember also playing Dark Forces.
I was having a moment.
Well,
It's okay,
like-
man.
it's
Let it
right
go.
back.
Let it go. Let it
Like
go.
I
Let it
remember
go.
playing the heck out of that game, and that was like so awesome because back then there weren't.
Dark
I mean,
Forces.
there were always Star Wars games, but like those were the first that like LucasArts really like owned the property. That and like TIE Fighter. X-Wing. And I remember going onto the calling up through my modem the LucasArts website in San Francisco. I grew up in Michigan, just to download like patches to that game. It
Yeah.
was like the first time I was ever like online in any sort of capacity. Like those games were really good, and it's kind of, I admit with the transition, it's kind of sad that LucasArts has at least put a pause on their gaming and they're moving forward. Disney's licensed out the games, and those look like they're exciting. But I know there's a lot of there's that one about the Boba Fett that got canceled.
Yeah,
Like,
which
you wanna play?
everyone
There's
was
2
like,
players.
yeah, the concept art looked awesome for that.
yeah. Well, you have some supporters here. Dat
Yeah.
Sneefa says, yes, the flight games were awesome. Guru says X-Wing was great. I met my wife in Star Wars Galaxy. Whoa,
Yeah,
that's pretty
nice.
cool. Guru.
That's amazing.
And it was his sister.
No.
A lolly doll with the 1,000-yard stare, says Nirvash.
I don't know what that means.
Does she got 1,000? Grinding to unlock the Millennium Falcon. Oh, the memories. Sorry.
You can unlock the Millennium Falcon in this game.
You can?
I believe you can.
Oh, sweet.
Whoa, but
Does it
it
just
would.
go really fast and crash into everything?
Yeah, that's way too big for this course.
I
So
think
how
they
does that
scaled
work?
it.
They scaled it down? That's stupid.
That is dumb.
It's the mini.
It's the mini version. It's the
This
more
is,
fuel
like,
efficient
pretty-
Millennium.
It's pretty good.
It's pretty cool looking.
And I like the
for-
geometric shapes
for
are
the
so
day
awesome
time.
looking, even though it's kind of like standard or basic. It's neat.
I
Colors are great.
actually remember, I mean, LucasArts made, like, they were my favorite game company in the 80s and early 90s. You know, their adventure games, like, you know, Monkey Island, obviously, and obviously, like me. Well, this is probably the right audience who knows it. You know, they had Tentacle. Like, that game was awesome. It had a lot of, like, speech, and not just speech, but, like, professional speech. Loom, like,
Yeah.
had, like, one of the best soundtracks, I think, ever for a game. I mean, you have to put it in context, but, like, you know, it had, like, full 44 kilohertz CD audio, like, back in, like,
I like Pac-Man.
92. But like I remember I was like super into Wing Commander too, and then I remember reading and like you had to get it mailed back then, like the LucasArts fan
Yeah.
newsletter, and
Oh,
them
yeah.
talking about X-wing, and that was
You
just,
are
like,
out nerding,
Yeah,
Jennifer.
that was
Yeah.
like, that was, like
No,
the
no,
best
no.
thing ever.
I was around that time. I was. Let's see. What year was that?
I think it
Around
came out
what
like
time
91,
period?
92, somewhere in there.
I was playing.
Jen
a
was like
lot
3.
Of,
Okay.
I was playing a lot of
3 years old.
93. You said? Never mind. It's okay. What is your favorite retro Star Wars game? Asks Noobcraft.
Retro.
I might have just answered that. I mean, you know, everything's retro now. Probably X-Wing, because it was just, I mean, I haven't played it in 20 years, but it was just a really good game. I mean, it was, like, well designed. I think if you updated the graphics, like, you know, it could probably still, and they did, I think, 3 times. You know, you could probably still play it today, and it would be a fairly modern game. It's a PC game, so you'd have to simplify it if you wanted to put it on a console.
Right.
But the core mechanics, I think, are still great. I mean, I actually, I'm sure people know, but I wonder why that genre kind of, the action, but mostly flight simulator kind of, especially space flight simulator, has kind of like died.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Yeah.
not like one of the major genres. I know that, like, what's his name, the guy who
Like
did
Star
Wing
Fox.
Commander,
Uh-huh.
is trying to bring it back with through the virtual reality.
Let me ask you, what game does your audience recommend for iPhone? Is there a really good Star Wars iPhone game, or
I like it. Yeah, guys,
Like,
chime in. Is there a
what do you
really
guys
good-
think is the best iPhone?
Oh, there's
Star
that mini tower, the tower game, but the Star Wars edition of it.
Okay.
What is
Star
it
Wars
called?
Tower?
It's Tiny Towers, I think it's called. It's Tiny Tower. It's one of these simulator games where you like create
Yeah.
little floors,
Oh, you do? Okay.
like different.
Oh, it's something about the Death
professions.
Star.
Oh, Tiny
Yeah.
Death Star.
Tiny yeah, and
So
they
you
made a
create
little
the
Death
Death
Star
Star?
version. I heard it's super addictive. You
It is.
You don't create the Death Star, but you occupy each level of the Death Star with a tiny little person who, let's face it, ultimately is going to get blown up.
Yeah.
But but yeah, apparently Tiny Death Star. Yep, face
Yeah.
copies.
Okay, cool. I'll check it out.
It's a spin-off of Tiny Tower, I think, is the original mechanic.
Now I think it's a good time as we're just past the midway mark here. We could screen that second episode.
Let's do it. Part 2.
Want to do that? Rady, are you ready?
Affirmative.
This
So-
one really ups the ante from the first
Yes.
one.
We're upping the stakes in the second
That's
one.
right.
So it's a direct sequel. If you remember, our hero was kind of a cliffhanger at the end of the first one. The door shut because he went a little too far. She agreed that she could live with a man who likes the Star Wars prequels, but the fact that he liked the Matrix sequels was just too much for that relationship.
Right.
So the second one basically picks up right there. The backstory is, let's just say that she called him up and said, let's give this relationship another try. Why don't you come over to my place? And so he's there with this, well, I won't describe
we
the
won't
first
give it
thing.
away since
I will
it's
now
30
tell you the
seconds
full
long.
thing.
What happens next will shock you.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I think
Please, take a seat.
I don't understand.
Just sit down.
Your friends asked me to speak with you because your recent behavior worries them.
Is this an intervention?
It's a conversation in a safe place, surrounded by people who love you.
I barely drink.
You know what this is about.
Have you recently told your friends that you think that, in some situations, midichlorians are justified?
Yes. I think they're an interesting concept.
You believe that microscopic life forms live inside people's cells and generate the Force?
If you listen carefully, midichlorians don't generate the Force. They simply enable life forms to commune with it.
We understand and validate your perspective. Why do you feel the need to justify midichlorians?
Seriously, it's not a biological explanation of the Force. Midichlorians simply explain why some people can hear the Force more than others.
I know that you feel misunderstood. So do all who live to see such times. But that is not for them to decide. All we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given to us.
Are you some kind of Lord of the Rings fan?
This conversation isn't about me. Let's get back to you.
And the midichlorians didn't choose to conceive Anakin. That was a fake out. It's clear in Revenge of the Sith that Darth Plagueis manipulated the midichlorians to create Anakin, which is a really cool idea.
Listen to yourself.
But it comes back to haunt the Sith. Anakin brings balance to the Force.
Midichlorians are awful!
I'm going.
Please, 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 hold on.
Get out of my way.
You shall not pass.
And we're back.
So amazing. Oh, that guy was hilarious.
It was really, really
That was
good.
amazing. So what do you guys at home think?
So we kind of went there with the midichlorians, which are pretty close to undefensible. Although I actually do pretty much agree with a lot of what's said in there. Like midichlorians really don't. They never state within the text of the. I know that there's some stuff in the expanded universe about their role, but they never state that they in any way generate the Force. They're almost just like they amplify. how
Whatever,
people
Robert,
can-
whatever. That's the
Not the
implication.
I
The minute
do
you can
it-
biologically explain the Force,
I
you've
do
lost
admit,
the Force.
I do admit it's completely unnecessary. No one ever asked the question, why is Luke so good at the Force? And if you
No.
leave it on a spiritual level, it like in terms of everything, in terms of storytelling, it's better. But it didn't ruin it for me.
Huh. What are your feelings? Guru asks, what are your feelings on Lucas changing who shot first? Do you think that could have had a place in your series?
It could. Maybe not. They're about prequels. I will say this, and this I don't think Charles even knows this. I actually haven't watched the original trilogy other than when we watched at the Egyptian, probably 10 years. Like I don't think I'll watch them until they have a high def version of something close to the originals. I mean, you can clean it
Unedited?
up. Yeah, you can clean it up, get rid of the matte lines, but and it's like ET. Like no one complains that they did a special edition of ET because they released the original version. And
Well, people still complain.
I mean, this isn't. No one's. I'm not the first person to say this, but like, I don't even have a problem with the special editions. I don't think Ewoks need to blink, but you know, just give us the original version
Yeah.
because like I think this is the one thing that Lucas did lose touch of in going all digital and making all these changes. Is there's something about the movies, not just liking the movies and liking the story, but when you see a really cool animatronic or you see a really cool model, there's the appeal not only of that object in its reality within the movie, but you're like, you know, as a boy, it's like models are cool, like animatronics are cool. Like I wonder how that works. Where it's CGI, it's like, you know, someone is doing it in
It's
a
some
computer.
dude sitting at a computer for hours and hours.
But when you see a really cool animatronic, like you want to know how it works, and that
Yeah.
that makes the movie more interesting. And Lucas has totally lost that.
yeah.
That's one thing I really like about J.J. Abrams. He wants to bring back the animatronics,
Yeah, right.
the puppeteers, and everything. I love that.
He wants physical objects.
Yeah.
And that's how it should be.
Like I mean that video he did for charity where the creature who's probably just a very minor creature walks in the background. That was so cool because it's just like I wonder how that works. I'm so much more interested and invested in that creature than if it was just CGI, even if it was the identical design.
Absolutely. Tina Calf, I believe, is making a cheeky little comment about the biological nature of the Force now. Says, you're a Jedi, you know there's a vaccination for that,
That's
right?
funny, that's funny.
You don't have to live with that infection anymore.
Good one. Very good one.
Sam Tuazon, I don't think I pronounced your name right, but it's okay. Is it Sam Tuazon? Why the F is the game so small? Well, here's a cool feature of Twin Galaxies Live. If you go to twingalaxieslive.com, you actually have the ability to maximize any of the screens that you want. So if you go there and click on the screen with gameplay, it takes over the middle, and you can still hear our riveting conversation about Star Wars prequels.
Really
So,
not sure why you would
there you
want to
go.
maximize the gameplay. Not gonna lie. Really not sure why you'd want to do that.
Yes.
You know, one of the thing which I don't think is at the top of our next one, but might be controversial, is I actually think the pod race is too short. Like,
You
know,
think the pod race is too short?
The original version was like 35 minutes. The original cut or something, maybe it was 25.
35
But-
minutes of pod
You think in
racing?
the movie, you think it's
Yeah.
too short?
Yeah, and if you watch on the first Blu-ray or DVD, they have like it's not the full 35-minute one, but it's one that adds like 5 minutes of footage, and it's actually better, I think. It just like the flow
Really?
and everything is better. Now it may not work within the context of the movie, but they've actually worked some of that. The version you get of Episode 1 on DVD is different from the version that was in theaters or on VHS even, and that they added back some of the stuff they took out. So the things most people are probably familiar with now isn't the original version. But it actually kind of like, it actually kind of had more drama, the way it built and stuff like that was a little better. I've not seen the whole 35-minute version. That might have been
35 minutes?
Yeah, Jesus
that might have
Christ.
been too long.
It's like, just get this over with already. When I first saw it, I was like,
But I mean,
Did
it's also the kind of thing when you take it out of context, maybe it works. But when you're in the middle of a
You
very
love that
long
movie.
movie,
Robert Ronan.
I do. I mean, I like.
So let me ask you a question. Let's get
Yeah.
psychological for a second.
Uh-huh.
When you saw those movies,
Mm-hmm.
it was a really good time in your life, wasn't it?
It was.
You were in college.
Yeah. Well, the first one was I in college yet? I'm not sure.
Yeah. I'm just
no,
trying
I
to
was,
figure
I
out.
was.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm trying.
So
to,
the first one came out the night of my college graduation. I saw it.
Okay. Yeah. So hold on. Let's go back.
Yeah.
The first one came out the night of your graduation.
Yeah.
Which is an amazing time, heightened experience.
Uh-huh.
You graduate, then you see this film, and
Yeah.
you marry these two experiences together, and then it's like, I love the Phantom
Yeah.
Menace.
Although I honestly, the first time
I'm serious. I'm not even joking about
the
this.
first time I saw Phantom Menace, I was a little disappointed because the trailer was so awesome, and it is slow
Yeah.
in parts, and parts of it, Jar Jar just don't really work well. I will say though, when I saw Attack of the Clones, I was so excited by the end. I was like shaking and hyperventilating. Like when Jango Fett gets his head chopped off, I literally didn't breathe for like 20 seconds. I just thought that was like the most awesome thing I had ever seen.
I'm amazed. I am like, this is where we totally like
Yeah.
diverge.
Oh my
It's like
God.
amazing.
I mean, the romance obviously is, not good in that
Oh, it's
movie.
the greatest thing about it. That's when it becomes a full-on comedy.
So United Omega has some unique insight here because he said he just watched the prequels yesterday and then the sequels or the originals today.
And what do you think?
Yeah, let's hear your opinion, Unified Omega.
Give us your most recent thoughts.
Having watched them all back to back and having a clear ability to just juxtapose them based on the experience,
Right.
tell us what you felt about
Yes.
that. Guru says, I think the kid that played Anakin killed the movie more than Jar Jar.
Lucas, I don't think it's the kid's fault. I mean, Lucas is not a good director. I mean, Natalie Portman's a wonderful actress, and she won the Academy Award, right?
But she was terrible in that movie.
But she's not good in that.
I don't think she was terrible.
What are you talking about?
She was okay, but the kid killed the movie.
Yeah, the kid is.
No, you're right. He wasn't
The
very
kid is not that. I guess I feel bad blaming a kid who's like 8 and he's on a set with a
He's
director.
not 8
who's-
anymore. He's like 20 now.
Yeah,
He's paid for it too.
he was paid.
Have,
but-
I mean, he's paid for it with like ridicule.
Yeah.
If you've seen videos of him these days, he's just trying to live down the experience of
Yeah.
having been that kid because I guess he's been bullied his entire life.
That's not good. I mean, most of them rebound. I mean, I think the only actors who were consistently good were Ewan McGregor, who's just all-around pro.
Yeah.
And, Liam Neeson is obviously
Neeson.
good at
Liam
anything
Neeson?
he does.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I picked that up from watching too much Key and Peele. But he's good. But there are, I think, actors who are trained to do a stage, and they were more comfortable with something more abstract.
Right. As
Yeah.
N7 Spades is pointing out, it's hard to act with only a green screen.
Exactly. Especially if you're a method actor who really needs to be in the character and needs to react to their surroundings and the people around them. The green screen is terrible for that. And some older, he knows a lot more about acting, but traditional British actors who are kind of raised in the theatrical tradition are more comfortable with that. They're used to acting in a space that's abstract, and sometimes on the stage by themselves. So yeah, I mean the kid wasn't good, but I can't blame him because it's like if you
He's a
saw the
little kid.
production
But
of
I mean,
that.
but I mean, when you watch him, like you feel like you're watching a kid's movie, and that's the problem with it, right? I think with the first 3 films, it didn't really feel like a kid's film, although it appealed to kids and adults. But I think when you're watching the first film, there are a lot of moments where you're like, this is just for kids right now, and I'm as an adult, I'm not really part of it anymore.
And I've heard it also said a lot before, like kids like to see things about people who are older than them, maybe just slightly older than them. So like Carrie Fisher was like 18 or 19 in the first one, so you had this presence there that was just slightly older than them. Kids don't have to watch movies with people their age.
Right.
And I think I've heard some interviews with Lucas where he said, like, I probably went back too far with that. The first one, I was kind of interested in seeing evil before it was corrupted, which is an interesting idea again, but, that idea is also probably not as interested, at least for a mainstream audience, as, like, the first one, which is very visceral and action-oriented, saving princesses and blowing up Death Stars. It's just, flat out awesome.
Exactly, versus following a tiny little kid.
Yeah.
Datsnifa says the scene where he left his mother was good.
Yeah.
It wasn't for kids that are true Star Wars fans either, says Spagioni.
He's being more civil.
That is, he technically did follow your instruction there.
He did.
That's true.
I think.
Nige Gone Wild, can you say, I would take that chick to dinner? And that would be the ultimate civility.
Yeah.
Let's see. He didn't follow Rady's rules. Okay, yes. Yeah, have you seen that video where he's being interviewed? The kid that played, he's no longer a kid, is being interviewed next to some bleachers or something, and it's the most somber.
I haven't seen it.
You haven't?
No.
Have you seen
the young
it?
Anakin? Young Anakin?
The kid that played young Anakin.
Well, I haven't seen that, but I've seen him at like conventions.
Yeah.
And I just hate to say it, but it just always seems very sad. Like
he hates it. He's
Yeah,
very candid about how it's ruined his life.
Yeah, but he's still at these booths, charging you $20 for an autograph.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, I've seen him, and it's just kind
okay.
of depressing.
How lame.
Jake Lloyd, yes, that's his name.
Yeah.
Can we get Ewan McGregor or Jude Law in here? I would pay to see that. We have.
Hello.
Right here, Jude Law and Ewan McGregor.
Just kidding.
Yeah.
I don't understand actors that say that a movie ruined their life. I mean, for many years, Han Solo he absolutely hated Star Wars and didn't want any reference to it. And now all of a sudden he's going back to it.
Yeah.
I don't understand that. Like you said, that Jake Lloyd kid, he's still at Comic-Con signing $20 for pictures.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
we're
he's
gonna
still
pause
doing
for
that.
station.
Twin Galaxies.
And we're back. Okay, you were saying Guru.
I was just saying, I don't understand actors how they say a movie ruins their life. I mean, like I said, Han Solo, he denied the Star Wars trilogy for so many years, and now Jake Lloyd said it ruined his life. But yet, like you said, he's still signing photographs for $20 a piece.
Yeah. And I mean, Han,
and that's what makes it really sad, right? Because it's like they're saying one thing, but they're doing something completely different. So,
I mean, remember when Harrison Ford did Comic-Con for I think the first time. I think it was for Cowboys and Aliens. Like he had to walk out with handcuffs on. Like the joke was that they had to force him on stage.
Oof.
But he's come back around. Hopefully, his leg will heal and he'll be Han Solo.
That's
We
what he
have,
gets.
we have the best story for you.
Tell us.
But in the meantime, Immigrant, I'm such a tease, says it's suggesting this order. Episode 4, 5,
Yeah, but that's
1,
how
2,
we saw it.
3, 6 is the best way to watch it.
Yeah.
Huh, interesting. We have a friend here. Oh, go ahead.
Well, there's a variant of that. I think it's called like the chainsaw order, where you just cut out one. So it's kind of like an extended flashback. But some people say like, just don't
I
even
hate to
watch
cut out one though, because Darth Maul was such a great character.
It's such a great scene.
Yeah.
So we have a friend named Darren Pasolero. You see him here occasionally. He was on a reality show about being a real life superhero. His name on that show was Nitro G, and he's an interesting guy, and he is a good friend. But he has a story about when he met Harrison Ford at Comic-Con, and he was drunk off his ass.
He met Harrison Ford.
Oh yeah.
How did you meet him?
Well, Harrison Ford was at a bar, and
At a bar?
and so was he. He was at a cantina, and so was he. But he was drunk off his ass. Not Harrison Ford, Darren.
Of course.
And Darren.
Harrison Ford was stoned. Okay, let's get it straight.
Apparently, Darren walked up to him and was doing the drunk guy thing where he was poking him, and he was like, "Hey, you're Han Solo. Hey, you're Han Solo."
How did he get this close to Han Solo?
And apparently, Harrison Ford was very civil about it. At first, he was like, "Listen, buddy, like, stop.
Yeah.
That's not my name." And he was like, "You're Han Solo," right? So he goes, "If you call me that one more time, I'm gonna punch you."
Wow, that's very Han Solo.
And he says, "What is the line, Matt? Do you know the line?"
I don't know.
What is it? Jabba that says this? Who is it? Who says it?
Oh, yeah. The Jabba quote that ends with Solo. When Jabba's like laughing at him.
Whatever he says, blah 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 blah.
yeah,
Solo.
whole Solo.
Yeah, he does that to him. He goes blah blah blah, blah Solo, and he pokes him.
Oh my God.
And Han Solo, sorry, I just did it. Harrison Ford decked him
Are you serious?
right in the bar. He decked him and then walked out of the bar.
Yeah.
But
Would this ever get any kind of
no,
news
well,
story?
Darren, when he tells the story, he goes, I'll admit it was 90% my fault, and everybody always corrects him, goes like, that was 100% your fault.
But no one like took a picture of it. There's no like TMZ anything on
I
it.
guess not.
What a great story.
But that's probably why Harrison Ford doesn't go to Comic-Con anymore.
Yeah.
He
Probably-
hates us.
Probably
Yeah.
because of stuff like that. So thanks, Darren.
Well, I
Just
think,
kidding.
I mean,
We love
it's
Darren.
tough. It's tough to be a celebrity. I mean, you have people. I mean, talk about Jake Lloyd. I mean, like you have people coming up to you your whole life,
Han
and
shoppers.
like saying things like that. It is tough. It's nice to just go out and get coffee and not have people like
Yeah.
say, "Hey, you're Anakin Skywalker."
Yeah. Chaos Engine wants to know what you think is the worst Star Wars movie.
A loaded question.
a good one.
Probably
one.
Yeah, probably one.
Probably one.
I mean, they're
Yeah.
not perfect. I mean, I think, it's just as a story, it's just not that interesting. It's
Look,
like,
all we really wanted was the third one of the prequels. I just wanted to
Yeah.
see that movie. That's all I needed. I didn't need
Yeah.
all the other bullshit. Oh, sorry.
No, you're allowed.
No, you're right. It's the
You're allowed
internet.
to
Go for it.
Yeah, you're allowed
no,
to
but I mean, I
Yeah.
just didn't really need to see everything else. Just the third
Telling
one.
on you.
I thought the third one was great, actually.
Yeah, I enjoyed that.
I actually really like the third one a lot.
Yeah, when
'Cause I didn't
Anakin
wa-
became Darth Vader, that was awesome.
Because
Yeah,
of all the
it
character
was.
development, right? I
Yeah.
mean, you see the Emperor and you see this thing. I mean, he's amazing.
Yeah.
Like that's why we liked it.
and
Back to the
I
characters.
think if you take out the romance parts of 2, it's much stronger than the first one, and
Yeah.
very little Jar Jar.
Well, Jake Vader, 1993, says Episode 2 is the worst.
A lot of people think that. I mean, the romance is really bad.
Oh, it's terrible.
It's not good.
It was amazingly awful.
Usually
Yeah,
when
I don't
people-
need drama in my Star Wars.
Yeah, come on.
I mean, there's a basic rule of screenwriting, right? Show, don't tell.
Yeah.
And like that romance is communicated almost entirely through declarative statements. It's like
Yeah.
I am truly, madly, whatever, deeply
Yeah.
in love with you.
Yeah.
That's just not only is that not how people talk, it's not good cinema.
Yeah.
To sound like
That-
highfalutin.
That's a good way of putting it, Jake Vader. 3 was the least worst of the prequels.
One had a sweet droid war, says Dat Sneefa. Spajoni liked Episode 2. Thought it was the best of the prequels.
Wasn't it number 2 that R2-D2 actually fried a couple of other robots?
Well, he may have, but I know he did in the beginning of Episode 3 when they're in the.
Oh, maybe
the
it was
hangar.
3 then. Oh yeah, it was 3 then.
Yeah.
Oh, the "You're breaking my heart" moment Nirvash is referring to.
Rolling in the grass was possibly the worst scene. Agreed.
It's not great. I mean, those are the things that I don't know. Maybe the Star Wars prequel apologist will make you defend, but
No, I wouldn't defend it.
But Jar Jar is really tough to defend, and the romance in 2 is really hard to defend because again, it's just like show don't tell. It should be done through action or at least through symbolism or through some kind of visual language, and not people. As fetching as Natalie Portman may be in tight leather. Her sitting around by a fire and talking about her feelings is just not great cinema.
No.
So maybe that's what you'll defend. But going back, I think Lucas has specifically said, he likes that kind of formalism, and going back to those older movies where they're presented more like that.
Yeah, where you weren't allowed to show, so you had to tell.
But that's not his audience.
Yeah, I think that's a valid point.
Matt, I'm sorry, Darius wants you to use a shortcut in the tent to the right, left of the starting line. Do it.
Shortcut in the tent?
The tent.
All right, I don't know that
know
one.
what's in there. Yeah.
I'll crash into a tent.
The original Jedi wanted to know. I'm not ignoring your comment. Original Jedi, I saw it earlier. Wanted to know, one, what's your favorite Star Wars movie, and secondly, what is your favorite Sith Lord?
Well, Episode 1. Not Episode 1.
Star Wars.
Yes.
A New Hope.
It's got to be Darth Vader. I think the other ones are really. There's some good ones. Like the design in particular, which is mostly what he is of Darth Maul, is really, really cool.
Mm-hmm.
I love Christopher Lee. He's just that guy. I can just watch him read the phone book. He just released a metal album. It's not really metal if
awesome.
you listen to it, but it's like super interesting. He's got an awesome voice. But Anthony Sidious, he's good. But Darth Vader.
Yeah, come on, guys. Darth Vader.
See, I think expanded universe has got to be Darth Bane.
I don't know Darth Bane.
Oh, he's the one that started it all.
Okay.
Well,
Cool too.
XX 19 Kilo Soldier says, could Disney disown the prequel altogether? That would be great. Redo them or forget they happened as far as canon.
I don't think they are.
I don't think they would do that.
No.
Yeah.
I think there's very little in them other than midichlorians that actually will carry over past Return of the Jedi.
N7 Spades is proposing that in Episode 9, Jar Jar should be a new Sith Lord.
Well, another one. I think that solves a lot of continuity issues. But another one, Natalie Portman looks like Keira Knightley. Some people don't know this, but Keira Knightley was the clone.
She was.
The body double in Episode 1. And apparently their mothers couldn't tell them apart when they were in makeup.
Wow.
I thought it was I actually thought, a lot of people, it was CGI that they just did, or not CGI, but green screen, where they did Natalie Portman twice. But it's actually Keira Knightley
Whoa.
in Episode 1.
That's
There's some trivia for you.
Jake Vader is saying, remember when people thought the Ewoks were the worst things ever in Star Wars?
Yeah.
Let's see.
They're not.
That's
You guys remember that terrible Ewok TV show they did?
Yeah, the movies.
Released theatrically in Europe.
Yeah.
I
remember watching it live.
I saw them once when they were live, and I remember liking them, but I was pretty young.
Rady, who's back there manning the battle station, says Exar Kun was the best Sith Lord ever.
Okay.
Okay, XR was pretty good. I'll admit that.
Grievous was bad. Was pretty bad.
Grievous.
But he wasn't a Sith Lord. Grievous, it's interesting. He's a really good design, and I think if they had done him practically, he might have been better.
Yeah.
The problem, and someone pointed this out, and I think this might be in Red Letter, is he does nothing except for wheeze and run away.
Yeah.
His original introduction was so he killed the Jedi, which that scene's on the extras. It's not really well done, so it probably made sense to cut it out. But you want to establish. We know save the cat. The opposite is when you're establishing a character, you want to make them look badass and do something cool. Like Darth Maul. I guess we have a lot of atmospheric setup, but his first time you see him in action, he's taking on both Jedis, and they have to just get out of here. That's cool.
Yeah.
Just Grievous, the first thing you see him do is running away from Anakin Skywalker. How fearful can he be?
Yeah, exactly. Guru saying Exar Kun was pretty amazing, but I like Darth Bane because he started the uprising. He was the reason for the rule of two.
Which they never seem to follow. I never got that because, according to the expanded universe, there are times when there are more than two Sith Lords.
Right. Before Darth Bane, there was more than two. Then there was the cleansing.
Nerd. Just kidding. Love you, Guru. Tina Calf says, I disagree. He runs away from fights he knows he can't win, and that's logic and intelligence. And as Matt was pointing out, Batman does something similar.
Well, that's true. What's the difference between bravery and something else?
Strategy,
smart intelligence.
Yeah.
Batman, of course, uses the Knight as his ally because he's not a superpowered.
Well, he thinks darkness is his ally, but
is it not? Does it eventually consume him?
It's like suddenly we're going to take a huge tangent right now. Speaking of Batman versus Superman.
But I mean, I think that's cool. But
Batman
I mean,
is
you
never
can
a
have him
tangent.
run away. You know,
Not
like
with- not with her.
Luke runs away, although he's not a villain. But establish him as badass. You know, and I know they do in the cartoon, but you know, most people haven't seen the original Clone War cartoon series, the Granny Tarkovsky. I can't say his name. So you know, just having in that movie, have him start off like that might have been more effective. Because I do think as a character, there's questions about the voice, but he's a well-designed character and kind of conceptually cool. I mean, this is what Lucas does best. You know, the whole backstory about he's an organic being who's kind of been taken over by machinery, and you know, you can still see some of his organs and stuff like that. That's a really cool idea. But it's and Lucas plays that well, where he never actually states it, but you know, if you're paying attention, you can pick up on it. You know, that's really Lucas's strength. Like, you know, what he can do visually is, especially the original trilogy. Like, so much of that storytelling is visually and through action. Like, that's Lucas's strength, and I think he's probably better at that than almost anyone else.
Don't read that.
Which one?
Oh
No,
my God.
do not read it. No, honestly, do not read it. Broomstick. Oh, thank you. Speaking of machinery and droids,
Yes.
we have another video. We could top off your trilogy here. It's not technically part of the Star Wars
This
prequel
is a
apologist.
spin-off. This will
This
be
is a little
one of the
spin-off.
other ones.
I would say that it's in the same world. Or I said, like,
Same universe.
All these take place in a world where people are just a little more into Star Wars than is healthy. And this one is kind of set in that world. I like to say it's in a jazz club where people sit around and listen to cool jazz, drink whiskey, and talk about Star Wars.
This is Robert's EU.
All right, Rady, do you have that queued up? Possibly. No. Bathroom break? I'll go find him.
That's yeah.
I'll go find him.
Okay. Or we can
Is it
go
on?
Failed.
Now you can look at this up. Let's see what's in that thing.
Oh, I was just gonna ask you guys a question. You ever heard of Jarek and Desant from Jedi Knight series?
After that beautiful
haven't.
intro,
I
he is
haven't.
indeed on a bathroom
Is
break.
it an official series or is it like a fan fiction or?
Those are just like a few video game characters from Star Wars Jedi Knight games.
Oh, okay.
I have been able to beat those two. For good.
I played the Jedi Knight games, but I don't remember those characters.
I remembered a few things though.
Okay.
So he's not there.
Okay.
So how do you feel? This is a crazy question. How do you feel about Qui-Gon Jinn's communicator being a Lady Bic razor?
I don't know what that means.
You've never
it
heard
loo-
that?
it looks like Lady
Oh
Bic
God!
razor.
It actually is. No, it actually is a Lady Bic razor that they redecorated
Oh.
for his communicator. I'll bring it up. Hold on.
Special effects.
I do know one thing, and I don't know why it didn't happen. Maybe someone here knows.
Yes,
Like,
they
it
won't
really
play
would have been
video.
cool if Qui-Gon came back at the end of Episode 3. Because
Yeah.
they allude to it. I mean, again, show don't tell. Like, how much better would it have been to have, like, Yoda meditating and Qui-Gon coming back?
Yeah.
And, you know, the speculation at the time was that that Measy didn't want to do any more Lucasfilms because he wasn't pleased with the first one. But then he came back and did voice for the Clone Wars cartoon. So
Yeah.
I'm not really sure if the story was there. But it's, I mean, that's just like, it's almost like bad, lazy filmmaking to have like Yoda talk about something that's happening.
Yeah.
The video clip is ready now, guys.
Oh, the
Oh,
video
it
clip
is?
is ready. All right. Well, let's. Since you already introed it, why don't we roll it?
All right.
I don't think Adam heard your intro.
I want you to consider something important. In the Star Wars films, C-3PO is a robot playing a man. He describes his role as human-cyborg relations, and he acts human to facilitate the exchange of information. But if you take a step backwards, you'll see that C-3PO is played by a human actor, Anthony Daniels. So C-3PO is actually a man playing a robot, playing a man. But the story goes even deeper. At Disneyland, there's an attraction called Star Tours. At Star Tours, there's an audio animatronics figure of C-3PO, a robot. So, C-3PO is not merely a man playing a robot, playing a man. Oh no. Open your eyes. Open your mind. C-3PO is a robot playing a man, playing a robot, playing a man.
Eyeballs in the cup?
Yeah, it's almost like the end was freaky, and I was like, "What do you mean?" It's like you pick up the glass and drink out of it, and there are eyeballs in it. Like there's not eyeballs; it's just ice. It would have been sweet if there was eyeballs in it.
You know what's funny? You know that experiment with the can you see the naked lady in the ice cube thing? Because it's like subliminal.
Yeah.
Maybe that person maybe you should stop talking to the person that saw eyeballs in your glass. You blew the original Jedi's minds.
Nice.
You made Jake Vader cry. Darth Doo-Doo thinks you're baked. Rexia says high-level droidception. Urine on the rocks.
I should have drank blue milk.
Should drink blue. That would have been hilarious.
Yeah.
Now you have to remake the whole movie. I mean, the whole short.
I wasn't high, but I was. Playing a character. That was real whiskey, and I think I ended up using the last take, and I did it.
I love that smile.
I did it like I did it like 8 times. So so I was a little tipsy by the end, but I certainly wasn't baked. But I mean, the character is like I said, is like way too into Star Wars. Mm-hmm. I mean, I know that
Lord of the Rings.
And Lord of the Rings, all things.
Lord of the Rings. Now, did you feel like that log ride scene in the recent Hobbit movie was too short? Did you feel perhaps that it should be 35 minutes long?
Did you see it, Robert?
I thought that was a little long. Although I enjoyed it.
Did you like that?
But it almost
I
seemed
loved
like,
it.
It was good, huh? It's pretty good.
It almost seemed like it was like a video game level.
Yeah.
You know? And it was good. I think what the problem with it is it doesn't really, that scene in particular doesn't really progress. Like, I mean, it doesn't get more dramatic. They're just trying to get killed the whole time, and then they all survive.
I thought it was fun though. That was your fun.
It was fun.
That was your fun little break.
I really, and I don't know if this is controversial because I haven't read a lot about it, but I really, you know, especially all the bad publicity Evangeline Lilly got going in because she's a character they're adding, and you know, perhaps just so you know to expand the audience because there are no female characters in those books. But I thought she was great. She
was really great.
Yeah.
And I think she added. I feel like the movie would have been crappy without the interaction between her and Legolas, who also adding Legolas in it. Because
Why are we talking about Lord of the Rings?
I don't know. We've entered a new realm of nerdom.
I'm sorry. I just,
know it came up. Maybe we should do the Lord of the Rings prequel.
It's an entirely different fan base.
Yeah.
Well, because Guru, you're the one that brought up Lord of the Rings. How dare you
because
switch it
his
around?
character in one of the movies was hooked on Lord of the Rings.
Yes, yeah, that character, and we cut out a little from that one, although we probably should have cut out a minute more. But the counselor in there, his secret agenda, and we went more into this a little depth, but I think it comes out, is that he is a Star Wars interventionalist who comes in and helps people who like the re-educates people who like the prequels so that they can adjust to a more normal, healthy life, or so he thinks. But the secret is, of course, that he is actually just a Lord of the Rings fan, and his real agenda
is to convert me.
Is to convert people over to that franchise, which I think just almost happened there like 2 minutes ago.
Yeah, that was a real life realization of that.
Yeah.
Fun fact: Saruman and Count Dooku were both played. But yes, that's true, Kyle.
And if you haven't seen it, go back and watch the original Wicker Man. Go watch the Nick Cage ones because it's awesome. But Christopher Lee, is just like a tremendous actor. And he has just some of the best, most menacing lines ever. You like Wicker Man too, right?
Yeah.
In that movie, it's just a great. I don't even know if you want to call it horror, but it's
Call it horror?
horror. I mean,
Horror?
that's probably what it is in the video store.
Maybe
But
horror?
horror.
Jake Vader believes that they're going to kill off Han in Episode 7.
Well, that's a lot of people think that's why,
so.
because apparently he's a big role in this one.
Yeah.
Oh,
and,
wow.
and if the same
I think they're
writer
just gonna break
director
his
is going
leg.
to be on the is going to be on the second and third of this trilogy, it kind of makes sense that this one will kind of tie up loose ends, and then a story will begin in 2 and finalize in 3.
I think that'll piss people off if they do that.
Well, unless it's a noble death.
Yeah.
No,
if
not
done
even
right.
then.
Well, it depends how
Harrison-
it's done.
Yeah, I mean, Harrison Ford is 70, 71.
This is
I mean,
bonus time.
Yeah, I mean,
and he's still got to do Raiders. Hello.
Actually,
He's not
I
gonna-
don't think the fan base will be upset if they kill Han, primarily because the fact that the actor who plays Han, Harrison Ford, has tried to get away from the whole franchise.
Yeah.
So I think everybody will be okay with it.
If they kill Han, we riot.
And I mean, hopefully Harrison Ford's still alive in 20 years, but he's reaching a point where he may not be. So you would hate to have him.
You want
die
him
before
to
the
like
film.
burn out then fade away. You know what I'm saying? That's what you want. So it makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, what would be like the worst case scenario would be like what they did with Captain Kirk, where like they killed him way too early. I mean, like he still could have been making movies for a long time afterwards.
Yeah.
But not just that. It's like that
Sure.
it wasn't a satisfying death. You know,
Right.
you wanted to see Kirk. He was saving the universe, but you didn't want to necessarily see him die in a fist fight with another old dude.
Exactly. Ricky Grimes is pointing out that he wanted to die in the original series.
He did, yeah. I think that was a condition. He said he would only do the third one if they killed off his character. And I think
Wow.
Lucas talked him out of it.
That's
So-
interesting. I didn't know that. When they froze Han, it was due to him possibly not coming back.
Didn't know that.
Fascinating.
But I mean, I think I don't have a problem with him dying or not, as long as it's satisfying within the story.
I think he should be on a wagon going across some distant planet's desert wasteland, and he should die of dysentery.
It's
Spoiler alert!
kind of a space Oregon Trail.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, yeah,
A hero's death.
the originals were kind of more Western, so
Yeah, see, there
space
you go.
dysentery.
Space dysentery is the
Yeah.
worst dysentery.
Well, someone pointed out like recently that the people working on the Death Star, and of course Han visited the Death Star with those giant beams of super energy. There's probably a lot of radiation there. That's probably not healthy. I don't know if it's been studied, like the long-term negative health benefits of living and working on the Death Star with its giant death rays.
Everyone there's got like really bad testicular cancer or something.
I mean, at least, and safety wasn't a concern because they don't even have railings for the people on the Death Star.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm going to shtick now, but
You are.
I think Kevin Smith. I'm basically just stealing Kevin Smith jokes at this point.
It's all good. It's good source material to rip off from. I didn't hear about a Han Solo spinoff. Is there a Han Solo spinoff?
There's been rumors about a Han Solo and a Fett spinoff, but they're
Han-
prequels.
But prequel.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, and
I heard
Yoda.
about that too.
Yeah, did people talk?
That would be weird.
I you know what I heard? I actually heard that Max Landis was going to write it.
But that would be weird.
who
Having
wrote
somebody else play
Chronicle.
Han Solo.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I mean, the one character who would seem obvious to do one because we've missed so much of his life is Obi-Wan, and I did the math once, and I think there's still like 20 years between Ewan's current age and when Obi-Wan would have been in episode 3, 4. So there's a lot of cool stuff that could happen there, and one of the rumors is that I think Lupita Nyong'o might be his daughter or granddaughter. I'm not really sure how the timing works out.
Huh.
So that would be cool, like finding out like what else he's doing, kind of
think-
What he's been up to.
while guarding over Luke Skywalker.
I think following Obi-Wan would be absolutely amazing. I mean, because we hear little things about Anakin saving him in a pit somewhere, but we don't ever actually see that.
Yeah.
So I think following Obi-Wan would be great.
Yeah. I mean, we know he's alive, and he has a significant role. And you could find, he seems like a character you could easily fit into a plot that's just like tangential. Like something happens that he has to. It doesn't even have to be saving Luke. You know, they has to go on some adventure for a while. So, I don't know.
I agree.
I mean, I think that's the future of the franchise, right? It's like you're going to take these characters, and even if they kill off Han, you can always, obviously they're going to hire Nathan Fillion to bring him back as like a
How perfect would that be?
exactly, as like a younger character.
Yeah,
like
Mal Reynolds is
like again
the
like
new-
comics. I don't know, but I feel like they're approaching this like Marvel, like they're going to have different takes of the characters with different actors going forward in different time periods. At the same time, having one episode, hierarchy, continuity going forward. Why not?
Why not? I want to see an episode where Obi-Wan slaps Anakin around as his.
That's episode 3.
I believe that is
He did
episode 3.
He is doing Fett?
Who is? The guy that is.
Yeah, who did Godzilla? Is he doing it? He's not. There's no.
Well,
He's
he's
doing a
talking about the
spin-off,
EU.
but we don't know what the story is.
Yeah.
In the EU, Fett did survive the Sarlacc pit.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, he did. And I wouldn't be surprised to see Boba Fett. I mean, if they do a
Because he's
spin-off,
such a beloved character. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like people want to see that.
Yeah.
I think if they do a spin-off, I could see like the last scene, like him climbing out of the Sarlacc pit or something, or even if he just shows up, and then he shows up in the next of the episodes. You can
'Cause
definitely
that-
bring him up.
that part of the EU that followed Fett after the Sarlacc pit was actually really good.
Yeah.
I like that.
No, I mean that's like the aspect of the of the Star Wars universe that like they didn't follow in the prequels that I think also people missed is like that kind of dirty like bounty hunter like like the original trilogy was not about, while it played a role, it wasn't about like the aristocrats and the Jedis. It was
No.
about the rebels and the people on the run and the underworld, and like frankly those things are just more interesting than aristocrats. I mean, there's different people like different things, but I think the audience they're going for would rather see the space western than the space, what's her name, Jane Austen,
Yeah.
movie.
Like a Victorian romance or something. Yeah. Fett is probably going to be like Master Chief and never take off his helmet in his own movie.
Or he could be like, what's the character who's got the gun arm, Metroid?
Oh yeah,
And
yes.
take-
yeah.
Simus?
Take it off,
Saints,
take it off at the end, and it's a woman.
It's a chick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although Leia already did that. So
She
I
did.
guess-
Yeah. Leia did it first. Make it a t-shirt. Well, guys, if you're just tuning in, there's quite a few of you. Oh my God, it's like almost 800 of you right now watching. You're tuned in to Twin Galaxy Live's broadcast of The Lounge with special guests Robert Ronan, who is the filmmaker behind the series Star Wars Prequel Apologist. And we're also hanging out with the star of the series, Charles O'Connor, who is there it is, follow his brand, Lollygag. You can click on that link that Gru's just posted. He's the creator of this darling little lady over here. Lifestyle brand, right, we can call it?
That's what we call it.
Lifestyle
Lifestyle,
brands.
pop art brands.
Yep.
That's it.
Do you guys think they will touch on Luke teaching at the Jedi Temple?
I think that's natural. We could, just speculating, but if you think about it, like narratively, like him taking on the Obi-Wan role, and kind of leading the Jedi. I mean, that'll be a challenge because like we love these characters as the rebels. So, assuming
Seeing
that the
them old
rebellion
and
was
aged.
successful and they're now like the politicians or whatever, that's not as interesting. And like, what will Han be? Like, will Han like?
He'll be drunk.
Well, yeah, will Han like be the guy
On a
like,
bar.
falling out with Leia, and now he's like wants to come back, and he's still kind of the rebel, one last chance to
One
redeem himself.
Second, I'm gonna ask you to pause for station identification.
Is it every 15 minutes? Is that what it is?
I think it's every 30 minutes. But we're back now. I think that's all Luke can do now, says Ricky Grimes.
Yeah,
I
he's-
actually foresee the next movie coming out starting with Luke in the temple teaching the Padawans.
yeah.
I can see that too.
What I would like to see is what Patton Oswalt described in Parks and Recreation, but I think if I had to guess, I would be like this. And I've heard this is piecing together rumors, that are on the internet. Like Luke will somehow be in that kind of role, and he'll go missing in some way. And Han will have fallen out of touch with them. He'll be off. He can hack it in like the establishment. So somehow the kids will get involved, and they'll have to go find Han because he has some MacGuffin that can help track down Luke. Or maybe Luke has gone rogue, and they think maybe he's gone over to the dark side, and that'll be your thrust. I mean, that seems to be like, that's just me piecing together lots of rumors.
I'd like
could
that
work.
so
all I
much
know is
better.
that, like, I would think that, you know, Abrams wants to please us, so I think we're going to see some of these really cool scenes that we've always wanted to see.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if, like, we do see some, like, fighting on Luke's side or whatever. Jake Vader, to your comment, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I want to see that. You know, we only got a brief spell of him as, you know, a Jedi Knight anyway. I want to see more of that stuff. He's older, yes. He's heavier, yes. Will it work? I don't know. But try.
No, I mean, look at the pictures of him you've seen recently. He's in really good shape, and he's not that old. He's like 5 years younger than Liam Neeson is right now. Mark Hamill.
Mark Hamill?
Yeah.
He's
Mark
looking-
Hamill could pull it off.
Is he
Yeah,
looking
no,
better?
He's lost a lot
he's
of
getting
weight.
into it.
Really?
He's not
as
Yeah.
not
paunchy?
in Luke shape, but he's lost a significant amount of weight. I know that because he mentioned at the
But Liam
Egyptian.
Neeson is also, like, what, 2 feet taller than
Yeah,
Mark
well,
Hamill,
Liam
so
Neeson's a
it's like-
freak of nature.
I mean, it's just, come on.
But you know, he mentioned when we saw him at the Egyptian. Again, it was a public screening, so I can talk about it.
Like when I hung out with my buddy.
He said, you know, they had gotten them all trainers.
Oh, wow.
And that's standard today. I mean, most movie stars.
Well,
have
and they
to-
need it
have
right
to-
now, honestly. They do need it.
Yeah,
You
they
know.
do. They got pretty comfortable.
Well, people have just
Hit
have
that
kind-
bottle a little hard. I'm not naming names. I'm looking at you, Carrie Fisher. That's so unfair. She battled that demon, and now I'm poking fun at her. And she is watching, so now I feel like a total bitch.
But I mean,
She'll get over
it's
it.
true of almost all actors now. Like they get them a trainer, and like they make them, you know, eat that certain thing. I hate to spoil any misconceptions out there, but you know, Henry Cavill doesn't actually look like that. He, you know, he was working out for months
with
to
him
get in
last
that
night.
shape. Who was?
You were with him last
Yeah, I was hanging out with Henry.
You're hanging out with Henry
no,
Cavill?
no.
Just own it. Say
But
yes.
yes.
Oh, cool.
But you know, he spent
Stop
like 6
calling me Henry.
months. You know, he had a dietitian. Like you know, they work really hard to get in that shape.
Well, they better.
Jake Vader says Luke would not turn.
I think that would be bad. I mean, I know that kind of went there in some of the comics, but just narratively, it seems like
No, it's kind of like undoing everything that's been done.
I
Yeah.
like that he would have gone dark though, because it shows that he, even in his like advanced age, there's more to learn about overcoming those temptations.
Yeah.
That's how I would take
you
it.
have to give him some kind of dramatic battle or you know dramatic arc, assuming he's going to be in more than one. It would just seem kind of, because that's exactly what his father went through. It would
But,
seem.
I mean, let's be honest, like all these movies, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you know, it's saving the universe ultimately, right? So now how are you going to introduce another story that's going to top saving the universe? You're going to save it again. And that was the problem with like the TV show Heroes, right? The
Yeah.
first season was amazing about, you know, save the world, whatever. And then it ended and it was great. And then season 2 started and you couldn't really top that. And
Yeah.
I think the fear is like, how are you going to top this amazing story that happened in at least 3 movies and potentially 6
Yeah.
if you're Robert Ronan? So that's the question mark. It's going to get bad again? Okay, yeah, it's going to get bad again. But how bad is it going to get?
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, hopefully it's not just, you know, Han, Luke, and Leia sitting around drinking tea, talking about, reminiscing about
The
how
old days.
the old days when the universe was in turmoil,
Yeah.
and then you know,
I would hate that. I actually dread very much seeing them in a sleepy state. And that's why I'm hoping that's not what we see.
Could you imagine them in a retirement home just sitting around talking about their old days?
Yeah, I mean, that would be awful.
so something really bad.
But-
has
but
to
They're like,
happen.
where's
I'm
Luke?
sure-
He's taking a nap.
But I'm sure it'll be like, to your point, it'll be like, it begins like with them living their lives in a very comfortable environment, and then something's going to happen,
They get
and they're
thrown
going to
back
be
in the
thrust
fray.
back into having to kick some ass, you know, and
See,
that's
I
what we
want
want to
them-
see.
But I want to see them having never had to give up the fight, and they're still fighting the fight.
Still fighting the, like, the
yeah,
remnants of
like
the
it's,
Empire.
like it's never, they've never been able to slow down.
Play ball.
Whoa, that's our 5-minute mark. You guys get 5 more minutes
Nice.
to chat with Robert Ronan about the Star Wars prequels, sequels, with his, with Charles O'Connor. I was about to say his trusty sidekick, and then I realized how much you would hate me for that.
It's all right, you already said it, and I do. Thank you. No. Are you guys going to be at Comic-Con?
I am, although I'm not. I'm over it. I feel a little bit old for it these days
Okay.
in my soul, but I will be there because I have to be.
Well, then you better stop by.
I will. I will
Okay.
purchase a shitload of
If
these.
anybody out there is going to Comic-Con, please stop by the Bombastic Fantastic booth. It's number 5422. There'll be a lot of information of it on the lollygagworld.com, Facebook, Twitter, all those sites. Stop by, say hello, say you saw me and you saw us here. Again, we'll be releasing this limited edition vinyl doll for the convention exclusively, and it's limited to 250 pieces, so it's a really, really small run. It's a very good price, and it's scented.
It's too good.
Yes.
The price point that you did is ridiculous, and
$40.
And you're a fool.
$40.
Sir. They should be $75 at least.
And you get a bonus Moot figure, the bunny that.
You get a bonus?
You get a bonus Moot and a fan, which I didn't put here.
By the way, there's more.
There's more. I'll also be. We also have plush Moots, the little character. We'll have books. We'll have prints. We'll have more T-shirts. We'll have more bags.
Huh.
We have a lot of stuff.
Very
so
cool.
Please stop by Comic-Con.
249 pieces because Guru's gonna go get one.
Please
Nice.
do. Please do. We'll be signing the figures too, if that matters to anybody out there.
Cool. I'm sure it matters.
Jennifer, what's your favorite Star Wars game?
Game?
Yeah.
Game. Well, see, I can't play any of the racer ones because
Yeah.
this makes me motion sick.
I don't like racing games.
Yeah. And I liked the Force Unleashed when it first, but I never finished it.
Yeah.
Nice.
But I'm gonna say Soul Calibur 4.
That's valid. That's valid.
Because it was ridiculous, and I loved it. And I was so upset that, because I had an Xbox, I was so upset that I couldn't get the Darth Vader, and I had to get the Yoda. And then they released it as DLC, so I was all happy with it. And at the time, my boyfriend looked like The Apprentice, so bonus for Jennifer.
I actually was playing, I think it was Rebel Assault 2. I was in college at the time, and my roommate is watching it, and he knew the guy playing the protagonist in the live action video. He's like, I used to hang out with that guy. It was like a weird.
That's
tie-in.
awesome.
I mean, I remember too, going back to the 80s, the Atari games. They weren't very good games, but I played the hell out of those. I remember the one where it was very repetitive, where you were shooting the Imperial Walker.
Yeah, that was
yeah,
famous.
Yeah.
It was hard to do it too.
It had the crazy perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
yeah,
it was a side view, right? It's you had to look at that one dot underneath the head, and
Yeah.
you had to hit it a bunch of times.
Yeah.
yeah.
But what was that one on Nintendo? Because I used to play that one a lot. It was
The Super Star Wars.
Is that what it was?
I think so.
That came out on Super Nintendo, Super Star Wars.
Saying
Oh, okay.
I think it was
people
the regular
chiming
one.
in: Battlefront 2, Rogue Squadron,
Yeah.
Battlefront Original.
But was there
Oh,
one
the
on
new Battlefront I'm excited about.
Was there one on the regular Nintendo, not the 64?
I don't remember when the regular Nintendo. I remember the Return of the
Jedi.
Jedi game and on the Atari 2. That one I remember playing a lot too, but knowing that it wasn't
This was
as good.
Nintendo. I don't know.
I mean, maybe what I should have said, maybe the best one. I like the space simulators. My two big genres that I liked were adventure games.
Nice.
So I love the LucasArts things, the non-Star Wars properties, and the simulators. So I mean, going back to that original Star Wars arcade game, that was this is a really good game. It's still fun
Yeah.
to play it every once in a while.
Well, guys, with 50 seconds left, we want to thank our special guests, Robert Ronan and Charles O'Connor. Definitely subscribe to his YouTube channel. Follow Lollygag on Facebook, and you can follow Robert's Twitter @Robert Ronan. It's super easy. Yeah, you can get more. You can continue the discussion there. Thank you guys so much. That was a lot of fun.
It was great. We had a great time. Thank you so much. One more thing. Princess Leia, Princess Leia. Discuss.
What? What do you mean? It's Leia.
Not according to the first film. Just want to put it out there.
Peter Cushing.
Good luck with your dolls.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Comic-Con.
We got 10 seconds
Ooh.
to wave. Bye, everybody. We'll be back. Stick around for Elite League Live.
Yay!
Or throw.
Street Fighter All Nighter is popping tonight. Look at the talent in the room.
Can we start again?
No, these are street rules. In Twin Galaxy Live Streets, you do not start your dance moves again.
You're gonna get cut up and bit up and webbed up and sticked up.
One question. What happened? Look, you guys were right there, platinum. If you had won, you would have been 100% win streak.
My eyes become large and the light that you shine can't be saved. Baby, I can tell you a kiss from a rose on the grave. That's the news!